and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, good evening, sir.
All right, you got it right. Yes, good evening.
I'm trying to be better about it, as always. But no, it really is, because we're actually filming much later than we normally would.
Yeah, not much later. It's about 30 minutes later.
No, recently we've been filming around like 5 or so in the afternoon, 5 in the evening, I want to say.
I think last week we filmed at 7, so.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not that much later.
Yeah, so I was like, it's not much different. And before that, we always started at 7.
It's been a long day, and we've only planned for really one topic today.
Oh, yeah.
Which is good. I mean, that's all the better. Although, despite us taking an easy day on board games, we have been having a good week on board games, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Got some gaming in. Got last week. Had a good time doing that.
Yeah.
I've been playing a game since January 1st. Though I didn't play it over the weekend. I had to do some catch-up because I got my booster shot, and it kicked my butt.
I didn't know you did.
I got it on Friday.
Do you mind my asking which
Pfizer.
Which brand of chip that they put in you?
I think
Pfizer
it's Microsoft.
Microsoft? Oh, yeah. Darn it.
Yeah.
I mean...
You know, I'm anti-Apple, so...
Yeah, I don't blame you. But then, I mean, you don't want your microchip being accidentally, like, paired up with your Alexa, you know?
Yeah,
that
pretty
could be
much.
bad.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, I hate it when that happens.
We're just being facetious, so...
We're being feces-ish, you say? Yeah. No, I'm glad you got your booster. I got mine like a few months ago, and man, it feels good. And especially now in our home state, you know, a lot of places are requiring, you know, if you're 6 months after your vaccination, you're required the booster.
Yeah.
Which,
well,
I mean,
my state actually sent me the information and already pretty much scheduled it for me. I just had to figure out which day or where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
They finally
sent
sent me
a couple days off, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so I had to do it where I knew I was going to be off. I even had to call in on Sunday because I was still having a side effect from it. So
Right.
But all in honesty, I'm glad I got it. It still sucks. I don't know if I want to do another booster because I'm one of the few people that have a massive side effect with it where I get a swollen lymph node.
Ooh. Oh, did that happen again?
It happened again. So it's not one that's talked about, but there are people who are getting it. I'm one of them, and it was painful. Like I couldn't use my left arm. For a couple days. It was just I didn't have any grip strength.
I remember that was really tough last time. Like, you were hurting for quite some time after.
I'm still hurting a little bit, but it got better quicker than last time, so I'm glad about that. So it's just like, do I want to get another one and go through this? The alternative could be worse. So
yeah, the alternative is probably way worse. But I mean, it doesn't make this good. You know, it doesn't make it pleasant. I get you. It's like, you know, would you rather have, you know, COVID or a cold? Well, obviously a cold, but that doesn't mean you want a cold.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So if you hear me like a little congested and sniffly, that's still everything I'm getting from that booster shot.
Oh, gotcha. Let's hope so.
No, it literally is.
I trust
I
you.
was perfectly...
I trust you, sir.
But
I'm not denying this. I'm just saying I trust you. That's all.
But I'm just saying, I was perfectly fine on Friday.
Perfectly frying on it?
Yeah, and then I got the shot Friday morning, or like at noon, and come 7 o'clock, it just, boom, it railroaded me.
Yep. When I first got my first vaccine, the exact same thing happened. I felt absolutely great. In fact, I saw a couple people that I played games with, you know, and people I met. It was actually really neat because it was the Coast Guard or National Guard, one of the two.
Yeah.
And they were giving out shots, and I saw a couple people I knew. I was like, hey, how you? You know, and I felt great. At 7 o'clock, I started shaking. I was like, oh, I have chills all of a sudden.
Yeah, I got really feverish, really congested. Yeah. And then, what was it? Like Saturday, I was just dead. I was like very feverish. I didn't even leave my bed all day except for like when I had to go to the bathroom or get something to eat real quick. But I went right back to bed and just laid and watched TV. Luckily, we just recently mounted our TV in the bedroom, so it's just like I'm comfortable and I can watch TV still. But yeah, no, it was a bit rough, but my fever broke probably like 4 o'clock Sunday morning. I started feeling a little better, but I called off the day before because like I can't. I mess with heavy appliances, and if losing one arm can really be a detrimental for me and my partner because we deal with like refrigerators.
Yeah, that's unsafe. That's absolutely unsafe.
So I had to call off with that. But I went back to work on Monday, and today which is a Tuesday. I'm feeling good. It's just I'm still sore and a little bit of the congestion from it, but other than that, I'm fine.
Well, that's your punching arm, right?
No, this one's my punching arm.
Oh, darn.
I make sure to get it in my left arm because, I got to still have the ability to, defend myself.
Defend yourself? Like this is an intimidation factor? Defend yourself? My wife is getting rather upset that I keep coming home with black eyes. That's all I'm saying. Oh, goodness. Well, let's get into a more serious topic. Board games. Daniel, have you been playing any board games lately?
I have.
What have you been playing?
So the big thing I want to talk about is I finally actually started up our game group again. So that was one thing I want to mention because
I had no idea, despite me being there last week.
Which was amazing. Honestly, I really had a good time, and I think we're going to do it again tomorrow.
That's hopefully.
I got the plan to do it. So
I wasn't going to ask you on live broadcast, but hey, are we playing tomorrow?
Yeah, we're playing.
All right, let's play tomorrow. I'm in.
I already got the okay from the wife to restart it on Wednesday,
and that's what matters.
And I want to mention howdy to Creative Chaos. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Creative Chaos. Yeah, thank you for joining. Yeah, that was a really fun game night. So I wonder how many of these games that...
There's going to be some crossover here.
Right. We don't tend to pre-show each other, and I like this because we could bounce off of each other.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much of this is going to be crossover and how much I'm going to have to talk about other games that I've played just to kind of counterbalance it. But, first and foremost, though, you played a lot of new to you games.
Yeah, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 of the 6 games we played.
7, and that's because you were also working on mounting your other TV. So
yeah.
And Illuminous is joining us. Thank you so much. And it is the Legacy. We're going to get into that.
We're going to get into that discussion here in a little bit. Yeah.
Perfect timing. Yeah, it's we're going to be talking about we're going to compare and contrast Exit and the Unlocked games.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this topic.
I'll probably throw in a side.
We could talk about some of the other ones too, but the main ones that we've both played and people talk a lot about because of their licensing too.
Right.
You could probably see it on my shelf back there. One of them is got a big license attached to it.
That's right. But have you played that one yet?
No, I haven't yet. I want to. I really
have
do.
It too, and I haven't played it. And I would offer to play it with you, but then that makes one of our copies pointless.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's the problem here. But yeah, we'll get into that. So
I do have to mention one thing though.
Uh-huh.
I did a thing today.
Oh, you did a thing.
I did a thing.
Well, that's always productive.
I did a Kickstarter thing.
Oh no, I saw there was at least 2 Kickstarters that came out that I was aware of.
Yeah, remember the one that everybody's been talking about?
No.
The solo mode game, the solo player game from Van Ryder.
Oh, Final Girl. I didn't realize that was out today. Oh, no, because today also started the Dice Tower. And also a game from Bezier.
Oh, that's not even the one I was thinking about, too. I also backed the expansions for Viscounts of the West Kingdom to get the collector's edition box, too.
Today's a rough day for Kickstarters. I know out of all those games, though, So I supported Dice Tower last year.
Yeah, and I'm going to do it.
Ironically enough, I got my so one of the items that they did was a Dice Tower deck of bicycle playing cards. Yeah. And I'm a playing card collector, and
I knew you were going to get that.
Yeah, that was the only thing I got. I got it yesterday.
Nice. I haven't even got mine yet.
Barely. I got it yesterday. And the new Kickstarter, Tom Vassell of the Dice Tower, he did a whole Q&A thing, and even on the Board Game Breakfast episode, where he explained why he does that, because they pay for the salaries. Makes sense.
Yeah, and it helps with your equipment and stuff and microphones.
And I do appreciate the fact that he's like, hey, if you buy stuff, it's seriously way overpriced. That's on purpose.
Yeah.
He's not trying to be...
Yeah, no.
Not trying to be...
Speaking of overpriced, Final Girl. Ooh.
Final Girl. Okay, so how much is the all-in for Final Girl?
You don't want to know.
I do want to know because I was a big Hostage Negotiator fan, which was their original game that Final Girl was based off of. I mean, I know that there's multiple scenarios.
Take a guess for the all-in.
Shoot. I saw a picture of it, and it was probably maybe 10 expansions, and I want to say that each of those expansions has got to be at least like $20-$30. So I'm going to say 300.
You're not wrong. $330.
$330. I mean, I'm going to say it right now. Van Ryder makes really good stuff.
No,
they
yeah, see?
329. You're off by $1.
Am I?
Well, plus shipping. No, but the problem is, like, so I visited the Van Ryder booth at a previous convention, and they always make high quality stuff. I've only ever been disappointed in a single thing that they've ever produced, and that was they had a book series, like where it's like an adventure book.
Because we played the the Caruso Crew.
That's the one. And the books fell apart after the second play. And so I need to get like a photo album or make like custom notebooks just to pull it off. And I haven't played it since because I don't want the books to fall apart.
It's not quite a big box. It's 2 boxes.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, so no. It's series 1 and series 2. They're doing like the storage box like he's talking about right there. And one of the goals that they've already met is that they're going to do like a special art. This way you can display them all together.
Oh, that's unnecessarily awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. And Creative Chaos, I'm curious how much you thought, because you're saying that it wasn't as bad. But yeah, scrapbooking, it's so disappointing. I want to buy... I think the pages are small enough to fit in like photo albums.
Oh, for Caruso Crew, yeah.
I can get like small notebooks and I can put in the pages. It's just
the thing is with that one is because it was one of their first ones, so I think their quality has been...
It wasn't one of their first ones. That's the problem. It was their first series where 4 players are playing simultaneously, but they had already created probably 4 or 5, at least as many.
Well, it's weird because you're the only one that really I've heard that happening to. Like, because I've heard other people saying Van Ryder games they've never had that kind of issue where they're just kind of falling apart. Yeah,
maybe I got a defective one.
But then again, Final Girl is also a solo play, so I don't have to worry about because you were demoing it at the game store a lot too.
Which one?
Caruso Crew.
I never once.
That's where I played it.
Okay, then I did once. No, but that was it already falling apart? Because I had played it twice.
Yeah, I think you were warning someone about someone's character or something like that.
Yeah, because that's when I first noticed it. The second time I ever played it, it was falling. One of the books was already falling apart, and so you must have played it only the 3rd time ever.
Yeah, so I mean, I enjoyed it. I liked it, and I heard really good things about Final Girl.
Yeah, it looks good.
And honestly, I like solo games when they're like easy pickup and cleanup. Like Oniram is a good one. I haven't started it yet, but I want to play it. Proving Ground I heard is really good, easy cleanup and stuff like that. So
yeah, and the book series, Illumina said that they quite like the series. Yeah, I have one of their other ones. It's like a Japanese themed one, and yeah, it's really fun. It's good, and that one's not falling apart on me, so that's even better.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean it was probably for that book series, Caruso Crew, was probably like $100 for 4 books.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the quality's worth it, but it's just that was
amazing art in that too.
What's that? Yeah,
amazing art.
Amazing art.
No, I'm looking forward to it though. I've been wanting to play it, and I've been trying to look for copies, but everything's sold out. And then I saw this because I was actually looking at the Kickstarter for Dice Tower, and I just pulled up Kickstarter, and I'm like, wait, what?
Final Girl? Yeah, I saw
and I'm like, I'll just do it.
So now the question is, did you do all in? Mm-hmm. You're going to let me borrow it, right?
Maybe after I finish the core box, because all that other thing plug into the core box.
Have you played the original one, Hostage Negotiator?
No, I haven't. I heard really good things about it, but Final Girl, if I remember correctly, is based off a comic series or a graphic novel.
Oh, okay.
And you know me, I love and horror at that. So
yeah,
it's blending like 2 things I'm really into.
I'll lend it to you so you can give it a shot. It's pretty good. It's up there as one of my more favorite solo games. It's since been surpassed by a couple, but it was number 2 for the longest time.
No, I've heard good things. I just haven't played it.
Good deal.
All right. Now that we talked the Kickstarter
news, breaking news from us, which I think we're going to air this episode in about 3
February,
or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So if it's done by then, oh well.
So let's get into it. What have we been playing? And I lost my There it is.
You lost your list. No worries.
You forgot to do the coin of doom.
Oh, let's do this. Let's do the coin of doom because I don't think we're going to be using this much today.
No.
But we're gonna flip the coin of doom. Daniel, you'll be going first. What have you been playing lately?
Well, so the first one I want to talk about is the first one we played at said game night. You finally showed me Space Invaders, I wouldn't say a sequel, but a re-theming of flip ships from King Klinko.
Yeah, it is absolutely it's essentially the same game. I believe there might be a difference or two, but the only real big difference is the device to launch the token.
The token launch. Oh man, I had a great time with it. I really like this game. Setup is annoying. The board is annoying because it doesn't want to lay straight.
Yeah.
But other than that, I had a great time playing this one. It's going to stay in my collection for a bit. I really, really enjoyed this one. I'm glad I got it off my shelf of shame, so that helped out a lot too.
You're welcome.
We played it on easy and lost. No, we won.
We won.
Barely.
But not by much. It was the last turn.
Yeah, I think it was by 2 points or something like that.
Yep.
We needed 2 more hits.
Yep.
And I just got lucky in one of the shots and I killed 2 things with 1 shot. So it was, it's called Space Invaders.
Yep, Space Invaders.
I don't know if I actually said the name. So
now let's talk about the components and as far as that goes. I know it's not a compare and contrast, but the original flip ships that it's based off of was a $40 MSRP game from Renegade Games.
Yeah.
And the components now is a $20 MSRP game from Buffalo Games, which is better components.
Except for the board.
No, well, the original board wasn't a board.
Well, yeah,
but
that
your table was warped, then it'd be warped. But it was just a little sheet of cardboard that you would extend.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate the fact that it has a 1 or a 2 and 3
I get the board is nice and better compared to flip ships, but the warping of it and just the cards wouldn't lay and you're trying to move them down and stuff like that, and you're literally flipping tokens at it. But this is what drew me in. For our audio listeners, I'm sorry, but that cover
is fantastic.
Yeah, for what, $25?
It's 20 or 25, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cheap. You can find it at Target, yeah.
Now, the part that drew me in, first off, I already
King
like
Klinko.
King Klinko, I'm a fan. We need to get him on for a breakdown one of these days.
Yeah.
So we need to write that down. I'll write it down later. But more so, what I really liked about was that little device. It functionally is really good. It works really well, surprisingly well.
The launcher works really well for something so cheap. You think, flimsy plastic and stuff like that. It worked well. I've only played it 2 players. I don't know how it feels like with more players. Everybody's taking their shot, but I mean, you and me were giggling while doing it.
Oh, we loved every minute.
Yeah, I was making some amazing shots. I took down the ship by myself.
Yeah, you were pretty happy about that. Well, all of your special abilities also catered to that.
To that ship, yeah.
And as soon as you took down the mothership, you're like, okay, well,
my powers are useless.
Yeah, and you were the second player in that last turn too, so that was just you need to hit things really well, and we need to hope because we got to break these guys down.
Speaking of my love for horror, my Frankenstein mug.
Oh yeah. You normally get on my case about the show and tell. What is this? Daniel, how dare you be this way in your own home? How dare you? But no, it.
Where's the lightsaber?
Oh, sorry. I mean, I was sitting my comments, and I completely agree. Space Invaders is amazing.
Yeah, it's a great game.
The only thing is, I don't know if I want to keep both copies now.
New year, new Daniel. Yep.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm trying to reduce the collection. That's one of my goals.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I wanted flip ships for so long, I now have a copy of Space Invaders and Flip Ships, which are essentially the same game.
Yeah.
I like the Space Invaders theme better. I like the art better in Flip Ships. But
I like the art in Space Invaders because it literally reminds me of the arcade game.
Yeah, I like it too. There was something I really enjoyed about the Flip Ships cover. That's just it as a small detail. But yeah. After wanting to buy a copy for so long, and after finally getting acquiring a copy, and then I bought Space Invaders.
If you like Flip Ships, you would enjoy Space Invaders.
Yeah,
it's literally the same game. It's just because everybody compared it to the Space Invaders IP, and King Klinko somehow was able to get it onto that IP. And
right, Exactly. So, yeah, no, good pick. Very good pick. So, let's see what I've been playing lately. Oh, okay. I played a game. It's an abstract strategy game.
Oh, good.
That is incredibly thematic.
Onitama?
That Time You Killed Me.
Oh, you finally did get to play
I finally got to play it with a good friend of mine, a mutual friend of ours. He's amazing at chess, so I knew he would appreciate the, a good two-player game, Jim.
Oh, okay.
And he's been on the show
Yeah,
before.
I was going to say, you could say his name. He's been on here.
But I sat him down and I told him the premise of it. He was like, okay. And I read some of the better excerpts from the rule book, because that's one of the funniest rule books I've ever read. It's fantastic. Some of the best jokes I've ever seen on it. And there was one part where...
See, I thought this was the one that you were playing while I was mounting the bigger TV in the living room.
No, we ended up playing, I think, another copy of Rip Off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But what was so funny about it is, there's one part where it talks about... It's like, well, if you agree that you could be tied, you could both surrender. It's kind of like chess, but we're not really sure. We think back in the day you played chess, your people did, when you weren't dodo hunting. It's like stuff like this. Like, why are you... What? And it even made a great reference that I sent a picture to you guys of Dinosaur Island, where it even says,
oh yeah, it's a Pandasaurus game.
It's Pandasaurus.
Yeah.
So, by the way, we borrowed your time machine to bring back dinosaurs to our time frame. But don't worry, we're being really safe about it. We're putting them all on an island. I love that little nod to their previous stuff.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
It was so fantastic. But what's interesting about it is there's 4 little boxes. Each of the boxes extend the gameplay in a different way.
Okay.
And so, technically, you're not supposed to read or spoil the first chapter, but I'm going to tell you the first chapter anyway, because it doesn't even tell you...
No, don't spoil it if you're not supposed to spoil it.
No, I'm going to anyway.
No.
Too bad.
No, I'm going to mute your mic.
Okay, that's fine. No, but what I'm saying, though, is that it doesn't even tell you how to play the game prior to Chapter 1. So that is the first game that you're playing with. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to eliminate the opponent's pieces.
I'll fix this. Hold on.
You're trying to eliminate the opponent... No, this is just how basic gameplay. Calm down. You're trying to eliminate the opponent's pieces from 2 of the 3 boards, right? And if you do that, then you win. And so the basic movement, you get 2 actions on your turn. You could either move orthogonally. You can jump between time frames. If you push your opponent into the wall, that kills them. If you push them into a copy of themselves, that causes a paradox and kills both of them. And then finally, you could jump forward in time, which nothing happens. But if you jump backwards in time, it makes a copy of yourself. Those have nothing to do with Chapter 1. None of that is spoilers. But what is interesting, and this is not even a spoiler because it's technically on the cover of the box, the first chapter is called Growth. And it has to do with plants, and it does stuff over time. And when you're playing, that makes it a very interesting dynamic, because something that you do in the past is very different than in the future. And how you interact with it and how you interact with the other players, it makes it a very intriguing game. And it hurts my brain so much. We played it 3 times, and I loved every minute of it. I can't suggest this game enough. From a true fan of abstract strategies with a lot of theme into it all of a sudden, it makes no sense, but it's amazing. So that's That Time You Killed Me.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
I know.
I'm just messing with you.
Glad I could help everybody.
It seems interesting. I do want to try it. I just haven't got it to. Mind you, we just started gameplay. It's fine.
Yeah.
So you'll get it to the table again, probably.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it.
All right, so my second game is actually not a game that's on my list over here, because I'm actually playing an RPG of sorts. So a buddy of mine gave me Quest Calendar for Christmas, and I've been playing through the tutorial. I actually had to catch up on it because I missed the weekend, because like I mentioned at the top of the thing, I was dealing with side effects from the booster shot. Mm-hmm. But I finally got into it, started playing it, was doing pretty good. I was on a roll. I was doing some high rolls, destroying things. I'm like, I get to this major part, and I've only lost 1 health, and it's because it's a mandatory losing of a health. As you go through something and you lose a health. And so you can actually see what's going on over there. I run into these things where I have to fight them, and I had to fight 4 of them. I only killed 1.
Ooh.
And I missed the other 3.
Oh, is that what those like zeros are?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so the zeros are the damage I did to them because I missed them. And the damage they did to me was I went from 29 health to 21 health in just one day. So, yeah, so I really I'm enjoying it so far. It's been a fun activity to do. And it's just something I'm in here, pull the calendar sheet off, go to the next round. The back of this one will work with the next day. So, like,
okay.
This one says Tuesday, January 11th. When I pull that off, it'll be more the story, and then it tells you, and like if I'm finding something else, it tells you this hits, this misses, this is how much damage you did to it. And so I really enjoyed it. So far, so good. Mind you, I'm just doing like the tutorial. I think January is just the tutorial month before I can actually play an actual character that I want to build. And I have my character already picked out for when I do play it. So I'm really intrigued. See how this is going to go. Because honestly, I've had fun. And I'm not a huge RPG player to begin with. But this has been very intriguing. And then he's playing it, my wife's playing it, and his wife is also playing the same game. Yeah. So we're in a group chat texting like, hey, how'd you do with this? How'd you do with that? And stuff like that. That's so cool. It's a nice collaboration as well.
Yeah, that sounds like good fun. I might want to play this at work. That would be great. A little time on the desk, that'd be good.
And then the fact is that he gave me the one that has like the really itty bitty tiny dice. So
yeah.
That's why I'm really enjoying it. It's called Quest Calendar. It was a Kickstarter for 2021 for the 2022 year. So it took them a little while to get it. I think it was like early part. And so it's just an everyday calendar that has like an RPG on it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So how is the storyline good, or is it more mechanistic? Like what?
So far the storyline's good, but mind you, we're also just in the tutorial phase. Right. So it's not really giving me much information about what's going on.
I guess my question is, does it seem like it's more story-based?
It seems like it's going to be story-based, but it's also like decisions you have to make. So right now, everybody's playing the same character because it's the tutorial. So you're playing like the commander something, can't remember his name. He's just a generic knight. You get to choose your weapon. So some of us, like with me, my stats are across the board. Most of them are low, so like my strength is a +1, my wisdom is a +1, my constitution is a +2, my dexterity is a +2.
Oh, don't be so hard on yourself.
And then my charisma and intelligence are +4s.
No, that's a lie. No, oh, jeez, I'm sorry.
And I've really enjoyed it so far. Yeah, $24 with no dice. The dice are really cool. They're really small. So I find it intriguing. And so I already have my character picked when I do finally get to make my own character. And that's where I'm intrigued to see how the story goes. Because right now it just seems it is story-based, but it's more just like your generic fantasy right now. Just because I think it's trying to teach you how to play the calendar. Because you got to play this for an entire year.
Right. That makes sense. So that story better be intriguing. Because if like halfway through it you're like, fighting another monster, doing the same thing over and over. I mean, I imagine a really good way to break it down. I'm not saying that I know.
Well, I also noticed
full storylines and then 30.
Yeah, I also noticed like the last 2 Saturdays and Sundays were on the same paper. So your Saturdays and Sundays kind of blend together. It might just be for the tutorial. I don't know. I haven't really skipped ahead.
It probably is. No, most of the tear-off calendars tend to do that.
Yeah, so we'll see.
We'll find out. Cool. All right. My next game that I've been playing is from not one of our favorite designers, but a designer that we both really like. He is known for 2 things. He used to be known for farming and animals, and now he's known for polyominoes. Can you tell us which one?
Uwe Rosenberg.
That's right. I played New York Zoo from Capstone Games. Designed by Uwe Rosenberg. It's in a pretty big box, and I thought that it was going to be... I honestly thought that it was going to be like an Agricola, like
which one is this
game.
Again?
New York Zoo.
Oh, you finally got it played.
Finally got it played. And I would say it's like a slightly more complex version of Patchwork. It's actually surprisingly simple.
Really?
Yeah. So the goal of it, which first off, it's not victory points. Shocker, right? It's not whoever gets the most victory points. It's literally whoever fills in their board with polyomino tiles first wins.
Oh, okay.
And so your board is polyomino tiles, or the central board is polyomino tiles, known as bays, and you have to sort them in a pretty weird way.
Yeah.
But they decrease in size, which is interesting. And you use a similar like patchwork thing. You can only go to the next 3 spots. But interwoven amongst these bays are animal spots, where if you land on it, you take the depicted animals. So it could be like flamingos and muskrats and Arctic foxes and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
And so you take those and you put them into your zoo. Well, the catch is, first off, if you want to take a polyomino tile, you must have an animal ready to go in it. Okay, so you have like a couple little houses there. And if you don't have an animal to go in it, then you can't take a tile. You must get animals instead. Okay, so it's a definite. But if you have empty land tiles, you could potentially put other animals into it. And that matters because once any player passes a breeding spot, which you can only jump over, everyone's depicted animal breeds. And as long as you have 2 or more in the same pen, it automatically breeds.
You making babies?
You're making babies.
Ah.
But now here's the thing. You only make 1 baby. But if you happen to have an additional copy of that animal, like in one of your storage houses, you can also place that down as well. So there's like some weird pre-planning that you're going. But what matters is that once you complete one of your polyomino tiles and fill them with animals entirely, they all get removed, except for one can go to one of your storage houses, and then you get an attraction, which is just a polyomino tile that just fills space. And so those also decrease in size because, of course, everyone's getting the big ones first.
Yeah.
It's really weird, but it works. It works really well. The only thing that, like, there was one part about Agricola that was really interesting is how all the different crops grew in different ways.
Yeah.
And, like, whenever there was a harvest, everything grew, and you could kind of accumulate these wealth. It's like that with animals, but playing patchwork to get more tiles.
That's an interesting combo.
It's really strange, but it worked pretty well. It was a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be. I could probably teach it to you pretty well. There's a couple like small little caveats on how to play it, but it was overall really enjoyable. Definitely going to keep it in my collection. So far, Capstone Games is a hit per hit. I don't think I've played a bad Capstone game yet. I'm sure there's plenty of
Chip
time.
Theory. I was thinking, okay.
I played Chip Theory. Yeah, they're okay. But Capstone Games...
Capstone and Chip Theory are the ones I always get mixed up with because they're both really nice per component quality. Right. So, yeah, no, I want to try this one. Looks interesting. It really is.
It does. The cover's really nice, too.
And again, Uwe Rosenberg.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, my next game on my list, should be my last one, right? This is the 4th one? Or is this the 3rd one?
This is our 3rd one.
3rd one, okay.
Yep.
So I got one more after this. The next one I want to talk about, though, is from one of our favorite designers. You actually showed me this one before everybody showed up, and it's Phil Walker Harding. And it's Cloud City by Blue Orange Games. And I like the fact that Blue Orange Games is getting more tactical with their things, but still keeping it simple.
Yep.
Because they were mainly known for...
like kids games.
Kids games, yeah. So... I really, really enjoyed this one. It was an interesting concept that you're building up. You can only do like a 9x9 grid. Mm-hmm. And so you got to be smart of how you're building up your cities. This way you can build your bridges properly. And the further along it goes, you got to make that choice. Do I wait? Do I wait? Do I keep waiting? Mm-hmm. And I had a blast doing it. I sucked, but it was so good. I really enjoyed it. Because all it is you get a tile, you play it out, you decide at that point in time where you're going to build buildings and you're going to build a bridge. You don't have to build the bridge, but if you're going to build buildings, you have to build both of those buildings. That's the only time you can do it. Because eventually you can build a bridge onto that building that you just placed. So it gets interesting the more choices you have to make. My big gripe is both of you and me is like, is this a red or is this a brown?
No, it was either brown or green.
Yeah.
And it's very pastel brown or green, which is very frustrating.
The colors could have been a little bit better, but the gameplay itself is so simple and so good because you can build your bridges. They go from length of 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8. So the further along you get, the more points you get because those are going to be your points at the end of the game. And it does so well. What I like about it is just it's very thinky, but very quick, and it's not something that hurts your brain in a sense. Yeah. It's very simple. I can teach this to non-players, and they probably still enjoy this game, other than the fact, for me, the colors are a problem.
Right.
But you play a tile, you build your buildings, and you draw a tile later on. You can draw the ones that are up, or you can draw off the top.
Yep.
So, very simple play, and then it goes to the next person. You keep going that until both players have a 9x9 grid. You count up your points in the end of the game. I had a really good time playing it. I really enjoyed it. Probably going to stay in my collection because I collect the Phil Walker Harding games as well. Yep. My only issue, again, is the color.
Yeah, and I gave you that heads up too. It's like, hey, look, these colors not the best, but once we get through it, it's not difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm probably gonna Sharpie mine. Just take put a couple dots on the ones that are 3, 2 dots on 1.
Yeah.
Just to make it easy. But yeah. Creative Chaos said that she's probably gonna know the name Phil Walker Harding despite not playing many board games at this pace. Probably.
Yeah, especially you keep listening to us.
But if there is anybody's games that you should play, Phil
Walker Harding.
Let's say that again.
Phil Walker Harding.
Because he makes really simple stuff easy to get into, and all of his stuff is super streamlined, and it's functionally really
yeah, he really has simple. Really heavier games, but they're not that heavy. Like Emotep can be heavy and thinky, but then he's got real simple games, which is a basic card game like Archaeology: The New Expedition. These are all
and Sushi
Go.
That's really take the card you want.
Yeah, and all it is, make sure you're doing things right. You can hate draft in it, but Sushi Go is actually pretty good about making sure the hate draft can't affect you because it punishes you if you don't have enough of certain things.
Right, exactly.
So, I think he's a phenomenal designer, and he takes things from the simplest. He kind of reminds me. You always mention this. Rainer Knizia takes a mechanism and just makes it really simplified and fast to go. And Phil Walker Harding does that same thing. Yeah,
absolutely. Couldn't agree more. In fact, I haven't played hardly any Knizia games just because I'm playing so many Phil Walker Harding.
Yeah.
But and then Illuminous brought up Yellow. Yeah, they're no longer distributing in North America for the time being.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I understand. But Big Book of Madness was good. It was an interesting deck builder. Tough as nails.
Tough. I enjoyed it, but it just didn't do anything different for me for deck building.
Yeah.
I have a lot of deck builders, and that one it didn't grasp me like others.
Yep. Yeah. I ended up getting rid of my copy. It's not saying it's not good, but it just didn't make the cut last time. The next game I've been playing is a game that's very, very strange. I finally got off the shelf of shame. I haven't had it on there for too long, but I got it in my most recent purchases. But it's a very different themed game. The idea is that you are a group photographer, and you are arranging the pieces for a group photo in a diorama.
Picture perfect?
Picture perfect. I played it.
I didn't even know you bought it.
Oh, yes, I bought it. And wow.
Was it that good?
Wow. There was something so satisfying about playing it. And we played the simple mode, which I guess is a more advanced auction mode where you auction off the cutlery and the dishes and stuff that are on your table, and each one are worth a point. Where this one, it's real simple. All you have to do is each envelope per character has 3 ones.
Okay.
And each their ones, you're trying to get as many of them as possible. Because if you get 0 of the ones for that character, they're worth -3 points. If you get 1 of them, it's 1 point. 2, it's 3 points. And if you get all 3, it's 6 points. So it's quite a bit.
Okay.
But you could also omit them entirely from the picture and just get 0 points no matter what. Here's the catch. All of these envelopes are being traded around, and sometimes they could really they can mess with themselves. They can actually functionally make things impossible. So, like, I got one character who was like, I want to stand next to this person. And it was the same person. So that, like, oh, guaranteed right there. You can't stand next to the person you are, but that counts as it. But then I had one person who only wanted to stand in the front row, but then also only wanted to stand in the middle row, and then only wanted to stand in the back row. He wanted all three of those, so it's like, no matter where you put him, he's a point. He's just there. And so, like, you're trying to figure out all these things, and everybody, it's multiplayer solitaire. But yeah, it's so simple because you have all these wants. It's a simple concept, but because everyone's so focused on their little board, it's funny to open up everything and you score every envelope that people have seen, and and the interaction is really fun because you're throwing like envelopes to other players that you don't want, that you've seen, like that one guy who was impossible to get more than 1 point.
Yeah,
like you better believe I passed him around like crazy for everybody else to watch. And then there was one that I hoarded until eventually one of the other players was allowed to steal a card from me and stole that exact one, and it just went ooh. And what even better, that you each have a VIP card, which you could throw into one of the envelopes, and at the end of the game, that's going to be worth double points for everyone. So if you get everything, that's a 12-point swing, but if you get nothing, that's a -6 points already to hurt you.
Oh,
and
man.
That's for everyone because they're a very important guest. It was cool, and I think you would really enjoy it. Great components, good quality, simple concept, out-of-the-box theme. I can't recommend it enough. That's picture perfect.
Interesting. I haven't played this one, so it's funny you're mentioning all the games we didn't play on our game night.
I'm trying to do my best.
So, moving into my last game is one I have to mention it. You were in this one. It's one that we've been playing for the better part of 3 years now or so.
Yes, that's technically true.
And so we finally started up one of our campaign games, Rise of Queensdale.
Rise of Queensdale. That's right. We got back into it.
And it took us a while to remember everything because it was like,
tough.
Oh, wait, what? What?
Yeah.
I'm on a 2-game winning streak that is 2 years apart.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nobody's broken your record, and probably for distance as well.
Yeah, because the last time we played, we looked it up, was like February 2020, before all like the lockdown started. And then most recently, so it was like January 2022 when we I finally won my first game of Rise of Queensdale, which is probably like our 4th or 5th game of it or something like that. No, because you won it twice, Bryce won it twice, Dom won it once, or vice versa. Somebody won.
They each run it like 3 times. They were ahead of us.
No. They've always met their epoch, but they didn't win because of the whole.
I see.
Whoever's further from their goal. Mm-hmm. So. But yeah, I know 2 people won it twice, and 1 other person won it once. It wasn't me. So there's already 5 games right there that I haven't won. And I finally won the game, and then we haven't played it since.
We hadn't played it since.
And so we started playing it again, and I won that game. So I was like, hey, I got a 2-game winning streak. So there's only 1 person who has only won it once that we know of.
Right. You know what the funny part was, too, about that, is that when we busted open, everyone in our group, we were all excited, but we're all very hesitant at the same time. It was literally, it's like, all right, guys, let's do this. Let's start off. We're all 4 of us are here. This is our opportunity. Let's play it. And we brought out the box, and I felt a collective sigh as I was opening it. Everybody was like, oh. We started putting the boards, and we couldn't figure out which way the boards went. Or
who had to sit where, because we always have to sit in the same, the same next to each other, because the way the board is set up.
Yep. And so none of us remembered how to do that, so we had to just figure out how the board sat and then rearrange.
Or any of the names we've came up with these characters, because I named my character after a book I had read recently when we started it. And when I'm looking, like, oh yeah, I forgot I named him this.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't remember that I named my character Ralph.
Ralph. And then we were going through the rules, and then the thing is, because we played several games beforehand, we had special rules for things that we've added to the game, so we had to reread those. Yeah. And so it took a better part of like 45 minutes just to get the setup and reading it. What makes me laugh about this is because we set it up and then we read a thing that get for the next game, and we had to tear down all the things that we set up because they had to add new pieces to it. We had to take 5 pieces out and put those new 5 ones in. But we had to make sure the pieces weren't a specific piece because I'm trying to be as vague as possible because it is a legacy game.
Right.
And so it was just like, we just put this. Okay, fine. We did that, and we put them all back out there. It was, and then everybody's like, "Oh, we have to change what we did because it was already set up, and we picked where we wanted to go for these things, and now the board is all spread out."
Right. Yeah. Because we wanted to make sure we had a grasp on the rules before we actually played it, or read what we had to change because it wouldn't have made sense. But yeah, when that happened, we're all like, "It's fine. It's fine. Let's just change it. Let's redo this part. We should be okay." But I forgot. It almost took us longer to set up again than it did to play.
Yeah, because we finished it pretty quickly. Yeah. Well, mind you, my goal was the lowest goal to hit. So
right.
Because
but here's the thing, though. You were ahead of us in points. Like, legitimately, you were ahead of all of us until, like, right at the end, we did, like, some big jumps. Yeah. And we caught up to our personal epochs. Like, I was probably the lowest comparatively.
Yeah, you didn't even reach where you were supposed to go.
No.
But you did get into the red of that area, right? No, because you didn't get any seals?
Nope. No, everyone gets a seal. But you get a red, you get a bonus.
No, I didn't get a seal.
Bonus. No, everybody gets a seal.
I hit my epoch, so I didn't get a seal.
Everyone except for who eats their epoch. Yeah. But yeah, it's without spoilers. I forgot how much I enjoyed that game. I'm glad we played it, and that's a really good pick.
Yeah, I had a great time. I'm glad to finally talk about it again because I don't think we ever talked about it in the podcast. Other than that, we should play that again.
Right? No, I completely agree.
So it's and I'll say this: it's a really simple worker placement once you figure out what you're doing.
Right.
But other than that, it's a good legacy game. I don't know how much of it I'm going to put in the ranking of legacy games I played. It's probably higher than some, but lower than others.
Right. Yeah, I know it still stands pretty strongly as much as because it does some neat things that, unlike most legacy games, and we haven't talked about it much, and it's not spoilers, but one of the things I like about it is that certain parts get revealed to certain characters, and it's private information.
And that's the thing we had to remember. That was another thing we had to remember because Buddy was asking about because I had a specific resource that wasn't in the board yet, but I got it for a certain thing, and he's like, so because he had a ability to add that certain resource to his die, and it's like, so what do we know about it? And I'm like looking around. I can't mention anything.
Yeah, and it gives you clues as to what's going to happen later.
Yeah,
like because you can visit a clairvoyant, and like those clairvoyants will give you information of things that are potentially going to happen later in the games. I love that in a legacy game. Why hasn't anyone else done that? I mean, like for that foreshadowing, that level of. I mean, it's a silly story anyway, but it's like that is such an intriguing thing that I potentially know information about the future that nobody else knows, and you better believe I'm keeping it secret.
Also, I do have to say, Rise of Queendale has the most useful and useless component I've ever seen.
Oh, the plunger?
The plunger.
Yes.
Its only job is because you're building on the board. Its only job is to help you take tiles off the board for you can put new tile.
Right. Yeah, so you have the plunger of destiny. And my crest, my flag, has a plunger on it. I love that they play into that whole idea. Like, they know it's ridiculous, and they're going full force into it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Cool. Yeah, it's a good time. I'm glad to play it again.
Yeah.
Your last game.
So the question that I have for you, do you want me to talk about a game that you played or not played?
It don't matter to me. Up to you.
Let's talk about another Phil Walker Harding, because I want to pick your brain on it. This is the last game of the night that we played. It was a game called Snakes.
3 S's.
Yeah, 3 S's at the end. So the question, it's a party game from Phil Walker Harding, okay? And partially
social deduction.
And I know and viewers of the podcast
know how much I hate social deduction.
How much you hate it. But I know you are willing to because it's Phil Walker Harding. And I wasn't wrong in saying that it's not really about the social deduction.
Yeah.
It's more about bluffing.
It is not really a long game, social deduction, because every round it changes over 6 rounds.
Yeah. So like if you're the snakes this time, that doesn't mean you're going to be a snakes.
I do have to say my biggest issue with the one we played, and it's not good for 4 players.
No, it's garbage for 4 players.
Yeah.
It's not that bad, but the problem is
the ordinary human knows who the mongoose of truth is, then he knows who the snakes are. So he's not going to vote for whatever the snakes are saying.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So there's no way that you could play as a the ordinary human if you get dealt that randomly.
Yeah.
The only thing you have to do is to convince the other players. Now, we played in the spirit of it. We didn't really like blatantly say it's like, oh, I'm an ordinary human, they're definitely snakes. And which I guess is a thing that you could do in like werewolf and blatantly do it. It's kind of pointless in that since it's only one round. But the fact is, like, I appreciate the fact that these questions are just completely over the top.
Vague.
And vague on purpose because they don't want you to necessarily know the answers. You have to discuss like this absurdity. And I think it was something like, what was the original name of toilet paper?
Oh, yeah.
And I threw in what was an honest fact about it to throw people off. Like that I knew that prior to toilet paper, there was like, people used corn cobs and leaves and like all sorts of terrible things that would feel awful. And that's a very honest fact, but that led away from the correct answer on purpose too. So that's really fun because the snakes all know the correct answer and try and hint towards the correct answer.
Yeah. So my only gripe is that I wouldn't play this as a 4-player game.
Yeah.
And I do play a lot of games at 4-player games. Mm-hmm. And so my biggest. Other than that, I was intrigued by it. I thought it was really enjoyable. The cover is a trip. And
the cover...
The component quality is okay. The cards are okay. The text is fine. It's like just generic cards. The Mongoose of Truth is amazing. The pieces for like the snakes and the ordinary humans and stuff like that, those were all great. Yeah. So...
The only problem is now is that the fronts of my tiles, the ones that get mixed around and passed around, those are getting worn out a little bit. But that's only the front of the tile, so it doesn't matter too much. And also parts of them are offset for the punch outs too.
Yeah.
So if somebody was being truly dishonest, they could memorize how much of like the C on like the characters.
But again, you can find this in Target and Walmart for what, $20?
Yeah, it's like $20 game, absolutely worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah. Big Potato Games, I believe, is the publisher for that. So let's give a shout out. We have a new visitor to our podcast. It's
Dead Ghost Pixels.
Dead Ghost Pixels. New to the board gaming hobby and got some for Christmas. And checking out the online presence. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
We appreciate that. By all means, subscribe to us and join in our chat. We love hearing from you guys while we're chatting as well.
Yeah, and today's topic we're going to be talking about, it's our Chits and Giggles podcast. We're going to do one we haven't done in a while, a compare and contrast.
That's right.
It's been
a few months.
A few months. Yeah, we've done Space versus Machikoro. We've done Unmatch versus Funkoverse. Today is a personal favorite. You want to tell them what it is?
That's right. So I am a huge fan of escape rooms. And I know you quite enjoy them. This is the Unlock series versus Exit. So the reason we picked these two specifically...
And this is also most just the escape rooms in the games, but these are the ones we play most.
Right. These are the ones we play the most, but we want to be very specific why we chose these two and why they're compared to the most. Because there are a lot of escape room in a box board game, and especially different lines. There's like Deckscape.
I have a few of those.
Yeah, I have a few as well.
There's
Escape Room the Game, which is one that was from Walmart. And we're going to go into a lot of differences in between all these.
Yeah.
There's also a few others like Escape Room in a Box, which I forget the publisher for those, but they have some really immersive stuff. And now recently there's Box One from, Neil Patrick Harris, Theory 11, who's not a board game publisher.
But Box One is a solo version of it,
it's a solo, and it's really, really involved. So it's interesting because Yeah, and Creative Chaos has played one of those with me. So, but the two that we're talking about specifically is Unlock from
The
Space
bigger two.
Cowboys and Exit, the escape room series from Ravensburger.
Ravensburger.
And I don't know who the designer for the Space Cowboys one is for Unlock. I know they do vary, but I know Inca and Marcus Brand are the designers for the original Exit series.
Yeah.
Which is important because we just talked about
Rise
Rise
of
of Queensdale,
Queensdale.
and that's one of their games. So right now we're kind of on a high with them.
So, where do you want to start this on the compare and contrast part of it? Well, let's go to our poll, or not our poll, our topic over here.
Yeah.
Again, we always put on for our podcast, information at the Board Game Revolution on Facebook. We either ask a question such as this: compare and contrast Exit versus Unlocked. Which have you played, and which do you prefer? We also put up our polls for the top 8 debates anytime, so go give them some love, join that, and you can watch out for our posts about these.
And I feel like we'll be able to do a pretty good instance of this, but we will try to be as spoiler free as possible.
Yes.
I don't think we'll necessarily need to go into specifics of the scenarios.
Yeah.
But some of the concept of how they work, functionality, and some of the things that you can expect, we'll probably go over. So if you just completely don't want to hear anything, just leave our podcast playing, download it a few more times, but leave it on mute, just in all fairness. All right. So go ahead, take it away.
So again, the question I asked was about which Exit or Unlocked, which do you prefer and which you played. We had 2 comments, basically are the same comment, and Justin says, I like each for different reasons, and dislikes are countered by the other. While I'm not a fan of the deck exploration that Unlock sets up, I do like how I can pass a copy around from my game group for more people to try and enjoy. Meanwhile, Exit's puzzles are more diverse and interesting as one and done. I can't share the experience with others past that first go at it. Yep. And that was actually one of the main things why we decided to bring this up, because that's the biggest difference between the 2 games.
Yes.
Is Exit is one and done. You can only play Exit once with your group because you're doing destructions to the pieces.
Right.
Whereas Unlock, you solve your puzzle, I can pass it off to someone else, or I can resell it. This way someone else can have an experience with it.
That's right. Yeah, and I want to be clear. I genuinely don't think that the reason Exit did that was to force people to buy copies. I really don't think that. I mean, like, because
I think they just really wanted to feel like an escape room in the game, so you have to do certain things.
Sometimes you have to do like these weird puzzles that would not be possible with just cards, and so that's an interesting thing to consider. And once again, Exit does a great job of making an inexpensive package. Normal Exit scenarios are $15 in the box. And same with the Unlock series, except that's just a deck of about 60 cards that are slightly larger.
Yeah.
On average.
And on honesty, usually when you first got into Unlocked, they had them individually paced. So you could buy them for like $10, $15 for a scenario and then pass it on. Whereas now they put them into like big box bundles where it's 3 games for, I think it's like $40 or something like that.
It's 30.
Yeah.
Or 35, something
like something like that. It's like anywhere between 30 to 40. You could usually find both of these series of games on sales everywhere.
Yeah.
So both of them are very inexpensive. The only difference is one can be passed on while the other one can't. That's the main big difference. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's definitely a plus as far as Unlock goes. As far as, and the same with like box 1, for example. I handed my copy to you because I want you to try it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not hinting at anything right now. I want you, no, but it's true. Like, I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And do so without destroying the components, which is a huge important thing. Whereas Unlock, I feel like that there's also a detriment to that. Even though Unlock is replayable and you can give it to somebody to play, I feel like the fact that they stuck to just cards and nothing can be manipulated outside of the cards, you're looking at images.
Like turned or imaged.
Yeah, you can turn them around. You're never cutting pieces. You're never physically handling props, which sometimes the Exit series will do. You're never doing anything that is, necessarily outside the box or strange, but you're supposed to immerse yourself in the role. And I feel like that's a detriment in a way because of the fact that, everything is just on the cards. You're seeing it from the perspective of whatever the picture is illustrating.
Everything is on the cards.
Well, right, but you see what I mean, though.
Yeah.
You can't, like, for Exit, there are some times where you will have a physical piece that you can maneuver around, right? Either that you've built it or looked at it or you have a different perspective on it, and you can see it in different ways and work with it in that way, where you have that, like, it almost feels more immersive. Whereas Unlock, no matter what is done, you have to be off of the cards. Now, they've since tried to fix that, too.
Yeah.
They've done that with the app.
Yeah.
The app provides things called, like, puzzles or mechanisms, I think is what it's called, machines.
Yeah.
And where you can actually do...
That's what I was going to mention, is that the app, they integrate the app very well to do the puzzle aspect of it that Exit gives you out of the box.
Right.
Now, there are some issues for me personally on the Unlock series, which I'll admit is the one I prefer to play just because I like the ability to, shift it to other people.
Yeah.
And so, whereas Exits are a one and done experience. Right. A great experience. I remember having a blast playing it. There's another detriment to both of these games.
Yeah.
And that's the player count.
Yes. I feel like Unlock is a little more friendly with the player
count, yes.
And that's because what we do when we play the Unlock series is we shuffle up the cards, other than like the ones that you need like right away.
Yeah.
Shuffle them up and we deal them out to every player. And you are only allowed to look at the backs of the ones that are in front of you. Yeah. So that way it's like, okay, we have a new map card. We need card number 27, 18, and 45. Mm-hmm. So everybody starts looking at their cards and everybody, there's always kind of that enjoyment of like, oh, I got it. And then it keeps everybody in a way involved. And the cards, I appreciate the fact that you can pass them around. Whereas like that makes it a little better for like 3, maybe 4 players. Yeah. Whereas the Exit series, you have the one paper book.
Exactly. And then the manipulation of the pieces. And you also, because Exit tends to be more escape room in a box, you can also have that one person who just bullies their way into trying to be the best. There's ways that you can try to mitigate that, but there's always going to be someone who's like really good at puzzles and, can mess with the experience for others people because he's like, or they are like, hey, I got this, I figured this out, or I know this. Right. And I've played with people like that at the shop. Mm-hmm. I've played with like people like that outside of the shop, at conventions, stuff like that. So it can be a detriment for other people. But if you have the right game group, I think Exit works well. Right. But I think Unlock is a bit more friendly with their player count.
Right. Yeah. So if we're talking as far as player count goes and replayability, Unlock is technically the better one as far as those two categories go, because you can give that to other players. It doesn't break the game. Yeah. You don't have to destroy anything. To answer Dead Ghost Pixel's question, both of these games are a one and done style of game, which what that means is that because you're going to be learning and solving puzzles and reading the storyline, the surprise is you can't play it again. Time, regardless of it. But the difference is Unlock can be given to somebody else and they could play it, whereas Exits cannot.
Yeah, exactly. So I do want to make a big mention about this. We kind of talked about it at the beginning. Unlock does have a big series with it. Yes. They have got the Star Wars license on them, and so you can now do an escape room series with the Star Wars license. And I own it, haven't played it yet. I really want to.
Same here. Yep.
As for the Exits, I don't know if they've have really big series.
They've never had an IP.
IP, though they just recently came out with a really big one that's a 2-parter. And I think it's the Escape from the Catacombs or something like that.
The Catacombs, yes. And I've played that one, too. One thing that I really like about it, I mean, yes, it doesn't have an IP, right? Mm-hmm. But that one had a 2-part puzzle, and one part was significantly harder than the other. They do a really good job of creating puzzles and situations that you would potentially see in a real escape room, a real well-done escape room, considering how small the packages and how more or less inexpensive the components are. They make manipulative puzzles that you would not have. And the way that let's talk about how the actual puzzles are solved, right? Or not but yeah, let's talk about the mechanism and how they work. Exit uses a mechanism that is essentially like a big dial rotary thing, and you have to position the dials to give a code, and then in a certain window it'll give you a number, which you'll check a card of that number, and if it's correct, I do appreciate this fact that instead of just saying you are either right or wrong to potentially prevent false positives, you draw a card that says, where did you see this symbol? And that symbol, like, you might have found it on, like, a case or something. It's like a triangle or something. Then you go, okay, well, I found that on the case. Then it will tell you if you're right or wrong, because so that way it prevents people from brute forcing it. Yeah. Which is good, which is awesome, because that's a huge, important thing. I've explained this before that I co-own with a friend of mine a mobile escape room company. Yeah. And brute forcing is a really obnoxious thing to see people do. But some people will do it. Like there's people who do like lock spinning, who just sit there and spin a 3-combination lock, waiting to see if they can get the combination. But they'll be doing that while looking at the puzzle, just to see if they can just brute force it and open it up. Or like if the case doesn't close properly, we had a playtest session where somebody literally just like kind of pried open the case because it was a plastic one, because we just couldn't afford better ones at the time. Yeah. And they pried it open and just reached in and grabbed the thing that they needed. And so, like, stuff like that, that's brute forcing. And Exit does it a much better system because of that dial. Yeah. You can't brute force it nearly as easily. It's still possible, but where Unlock, the way that you solve the puzzles is more often than not, you will need 2 items that are combined together, a red and a blue. You combine those together, that'll give you a number. If anyone has a card on the back that has that same number, then that is potentially the card that combines. Now, it doesn't mean that you've solved the puzzle correctly. It might actually cause a really funny scenario where it's like, oh, well, you electrocuted yourself, haha. Like, or like you did something really silly. But like it's absolutely something that you could do.
And so another thing I have to mention about the Unlock series is, especially with one of the earlier ones, the Deep Sea Nautilus. Mm-hmm. There was an issue with the way things got printed on there, so people were having a hard time finishing a puzzle because the way the things weren't lining up like it should. Right. And so I ran into that. Yeah. It didn't knock me onto not liking the Unlock series, but it also made me hesitant to play more of it. But when I did play some more of them, I really do enjoy them. And I like the fact that they keep going back to the characters they started up with, the mad scientist and the what is it, Mr. Squeak or something like that?
Yeah, Squeak something. Yeah, it's the mad scientist and the mouse.
I do love the fact that they keep going back to those scenarios every now and then. Also, I have to say, Unlock also has another IP on it, the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it does. You're right. It has Wizard of Oz as one of the storylines. Yeah. And that one's cool. I have not played that one yet.
I have not played that one.
I believe I might have, but I don't remember it. Yeah, and Illuminous is absolutely right. The art style in Unlock is really good. Exits is okay. Yeah. The books that they normally have with the puzzles, they're fine. I would say Unlock is technically more immersive because you're forced to use your imagination. Whereas if you're more of like a hands-on person,
Exit's better for you.
Exit makes more sense.
If you want to do more tactile stuff, like manipulating or taking pieces apart, and then this way you can use them properly in a puzzle somewhere. Because there was one point where we had we played the first time I played Unlocked, we had to cut things up this way we could figure out what we needed to do. And so we had a really good time, whereas you can't really do that with Unlocked. The only manipulation you have is either flipping the card. Right. And like I said, it's gotten better because of the app integration, but some people don't want to play with the app.
Right, exactly. And that's still only, like, you hand the app to one person and they're solving the puzzle. Even if it's a tablet, it's still one person. Yeah. Now, I will give Unlock credit, though. In the bigger boxes, the 3-packs, I played one recently where it included artifacts, like a poster, things, like a file folder, but it wasn't more than like a larger sheet of paper that they could only do in a bigger box. Whereas Exit's been doing this for years. And in fact, to add to Dead Pixel's thoughts, he was asking, do the Exit pieces go to waste then? Or can you combine them into their other titles? You can't combine them with other titles. But I will say in a few of my Exit games, you have built these artifacts, as I'm going to call them, these props that you're using in the escape room, and I have put those around my house because they don't spoil anything, and they're just really strange things that we've created.
And nobody would go into your house and be like, what is that? Because they're used to strange things in your house.
They are used to strange things in my house, but it fits the theme, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, if there's like a weird little paper figure thing that's built up that I use to solve a puzzle that doesn't have the answer on it, why not show that off? That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
In that Catacombs one, there's some little plastic skulls that they use from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, why not have those out? That's a cool little piece.
What I do have to say about both games that do really well, they let you know if they're family friendly or more difficult. They let you know there's a difficulty rating of their puzzles in their game, and they're very good about telling, hey, this is medium weight, so maybe not play this with the younger audience, or like the Catacombs, they're saying don't play this with the younger audience because it's a bit intense.
Like it's not upsetting. Like I mean, like the storyline, it's not that bad. But yeah, it was a very difficult thing for me and our mutual friend, which we are seasoned escape room, like both portable escape rooms, like escape rooms in a box, and real escape rooms. We've played quite a few, and we feel like we're decent at them. And when we get a really hard time, this is stuff like that, it's challenging. And Unlocks, we've never had an overwhelming hard time.
Yeah.
Whereas Exit, we definitely
There's
have.
a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it also tells you, so if you're not someone you like escape rooms, but you don't want something like super heavy puzzly, it tells you, and Unlock does it too, it tells you on the back of the box, the medium, from easy to difficult, and it's usually like a 5-star rating, so just follow where the stars will light up. If it's easier, that's more family friendly, or people who just want the experience but not too difficult of puzzles. And you could just wrap it up. If you think, okay, I'm getting really good at these are getting too easy, then you can go to the next difficulty. Exit has a higher difficulty level compared to the Unlocked, again, because that's also based because of Unlocked's card play. It's all it is. It's really just manipulation of the cards, whereas Exit, you actually are physically messing with puzzles.
Yeah, absolutely. So should we now go into the topic of let's talk about some of the puzzles that were notable and like how they approached them and how they solved them.
I don't really want to go into too much of that just because
not how to solve it.
But just because spoilers. We're trying to tell people about playing games.
The thing that I'm thinking of though specifically is Exit has came out with 2 recent very interesting concepts in their Exit line. One being the Jigsaw Puzzle. Exit.
Oh, yeah. They just started those.
Yeah, that includes Jigsaw Puzzles in it. I have not played any of them, so I genuinely don't know why, but I know the only thing that I know about the Jigsaw Puzzles is that you're not just solving a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
Like, there's more.
There's actually clues on the jigsaw puzzles.
Or maybe you do things with different...
Yeah, if you complete it, it can do something, open something up for you. Yeah.
And then, but they did a recent one that I don't believe was... I'm 90% sure it was not released in America. It was only like UK. Was the only English copy. They did an Exit escape room advent calendar. Which, had you heard about that one? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the playtime is 24 days, as it says on the box. Each puzzle is realistically, you open up a window and it's about a 10-minute puzzle.
Yeah.
So it's it's not quite as big, but I had been telling my business owner that I would have loved to do an escape room advent calendar, like escape to Christmas thing. Yeah. I had always thought that was a great idea, and I'm glad that they did it.
Yeah, no, it sounds familiar or great that they were doing. But again, a lot of the gaming companies in Europe do advent calendar type stuff, usually promo packs, or this one, they actually did an escape room. Mm-hmm. Bring it to America! Come on!
Well, it makes sense because in Germany, that's where
advent calendars came from,
Right.
Because my mom used to buy us advent calendars growing up as a kid, because when she was living in Germany back in the 70s, that was a thing that they were doing over there.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that they brought it over, because I love that idea. So the fact that Ravensburger is willing to think outside of the box to that level... That's a huge plus for it.
Also, not surprising because it's the German company.
Yeah, right. But then it's also worth noting as well that the Exit series has a higher accolade. They won the Kennerspiel
Yeah.
The Exit series won
The Kinner.
second highest board game award that you can get.
I wouldn't say second highest, but one of the more popular board game awards.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the gamer game
Yeah.
of like the most decorated.
Yeah, but because I mean, we've talked to Keith Mateka, and he says it's good for Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it doesn't have a lot of power here in the States.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're from the UK. Thanks for joining us. That's awesome. This is probably really late for you, isn't it? Or early. Goodness, I don't know the time difference from New Mexico. It's 8 o'clock here, or 8:44 here in New Mexico.
So yeah, it's
tell us your time difference.
It's
I'm curious.
tomorrow for.
It's definitely tomorrow. Yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
But yeah, so the thing about it, the Jigsaw Puzzle and the Advent Calendar, yeah, Exit's doing phenomenal things. But you look at the Unlock series. Why fix what's not broken? They're still selling well. They're doing good things. They like the pass it off, where you can share with other people and more people get that experience as well. So I do like what they're doing. I like the fact that the IPs are unlocked as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What else do you want to go over?
So the last thing I really want to go over, and I want to make this apparent, is which one gives you that sense of being in a real escape room? Which one is the closest simulation to that? Because I think
this is the big thing, yeah.
Yeah, we agree the price is the same. To
your
point. Which ones are more of like a simulacrum in a way of escape rooms?
Yeah.
And since I've played escape rooms and I've basically fallen back on these to get as close to an experience as I could without having to pay. Like, let's be honest, escape rooms are not. Yeah, they're $25 to $50 a person is not unheard of. It's really not, and it's really cool. But the thing is, which one is the most realistic? If I had to say one immediately, it's Exit.
Exit, yeah.
Yeah, and that's because. But there's also a detriment to that too. So that's because in escape rooms, part of the enjoyment is that you're in this fantasy world, and you're not role playing per se, but like I did an escape room not a few years back where you're in the cabin of like a serial killer, and you're like locked in, and that is terrifying. Like and we have some very fond memories of it, but being with that dilapidated wood, like the dim lights.
Man, I wish I did that one.
Oh, it's great.
Instead, we did that weird one where the stuff were falling on our heads.
Yeah, that's right. You were the one who joined us on that one. Yeah, there was one that is now unfortunately defunct. Oh, well, it's now defunct. But yeah, like there was times where you would just look up at the ceiling and there was just stuff taped to it. And that was like part of the puzzles. You had to figure out what was taped to it. But then we had to ask him, it's like, hey, the one that's like hanging on with the tape, do we pick that? Like, is that a thing? But that's,
And the tape wouldn't stick either. It kept falling on us.
Yeah, and some of the pieces were like broken and stuff.
Yeah.
Mostly it was a cool concept, but yeah, it was rough.
They had a heat gun that didn't work properly.
Right, exactly. That was a cool idea. But,
yeah.
And so what Exit does differently than Unlock is that it provides you these props that you can use, and it gives you different perspectives that are closer to a real escape room experience in that example, right? Unlock definitely plays on the idea that you are, in your imagination a little bit.
Yeah.
And really tries to play in it. So it's not as good of a simulation per se. Now, when we're done with this discussion, I do want to touch base on some of the other escape room
we can.
games and explain which ones would be better for that anyway, because I don't think even Exit is the best version of that simulation. So
the only one I can think of other than that box one under there that you'll say is better is the one that has like all the keys and components and stuff like that.
That one's okay. It's okay.
Okay. So, yeah, I think Exit does have the better escape room feel, and Illuminous says Unlock is like a picture book for them, and I get that. What I really like the fact about Unlock is the portability. Yep. I can take this game on a plane and play it because it's just a deck of cards. So, like, me and my wife can play Unlock on the plane.
God, that would be different, wouldn't it?
Yeah. because exit would be a hard time to do. Yeah, I mean, you could do it with exit, but you can't take scissors or anything. So.
Right. Yeah. No,
but with unlock, you can actually play it on the plane.
Yeah, you would look kind of strange if you were like stringing together some kind of contraption.
Yeah.
Like, using exit, that would be different.
Now, again, I agree with you that exit gives you the more the escape room feel, but I do like some of the puzzles in unlocked.
Yes.
I like the way it works. And for me, the big factor about it is the portability. Yes. I could take a section of it with me on a plane. I could take it on a trip. So, like, if we just had to kill time before, say, we're going to go to an amusement park and we just need an hour to play something at breakfast or something like that, it's much easier to do that than with exit when you have to be more involved and figure out because the puzzles and the way things go. So, even though exit is the better of the experiences out of the two.
It's not necessarily better.
Or the stronger feeling of it.
Yeah, it's the more simulated one. Yeah.
Whereas Unlocked, I think, does a really good job because of its portability. So.
And the thing is, that's not to say that the puzzles in Unlock aren't good, because they're actually really creative. It's just they're not as manipulative or kinesthetic as...
Yeah. And I do have to say that good thing about Unlocked, the fact that they can put these really good puzzles in a card game.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Now, the biggest detriment that I can say to any of these, even though as much as I like Exit, there is one thing that they do that is obnoxious. And that is they oftentimes do stuff very meta. Where, and this is worth noting, it's not going to spoil anything, but when you open an Exit, just assume every part of that packaging has to do with the game. Just assume that you shouldn't throw away anything until you're told to do so or you're done with the experience.
Yeah.
Just because...
And they don't explain this to you either.
Right. Just because, like, thematically you might be solving a puzzle that's simulating, like, I don't know, sliding tiles around or whatever.
Yeah.
But the components are made out of paper and cardboard, and they remember that. Like, they know, like, some of the production that they put into it.
Yeah.
And there is some times where it completely breaks the wall, and you have to do something that is counterintuitive to the experience of what you're doing. So, like, for example, and I don't want to pick any specific exit, but let's say if there was one about a cabin, like, I think there is.
That's the first one.
Yeah. But let's say, like, in the example of like me doing that real escape room in a cabin.
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna like bust out a computer and start Googling something? No, probably not in the escape room because I'm trying to feel like I'm trapped.
Yeah. And
they do break that wall from time to time, and our mutual friend Jim, he hates it when that happens.
Yeah, because it
takes you out of the story. It's like, yeah, it's a really inventive puzzle, but now I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Another thing we have to mention about these is both of them allow you to take hints. So if like you get stuck somewhere, it helps you. They both do the hint system very well. Again, Unlocked has the app integration, so that helps out a lot too with the hint system. Is like, hey,
Exit is completely independent of Unlock. You don't need a phone.
Exactly.
Or app.
And mostly in the Unlocked is very integrated with the app. You don't have to. It's highly recommended that you should use the app. It just makes things go a lot quicker.
Well, some of them you do have to.
Yeah, and some of them you do have to.
Yeah. So, if you're looking to be...
So, if you want to be completely off the electronics, then Exit's going to be your choice. Unlocked is still a phenomenal game. I really, really enjoy it.
So now, let's compare it to a few other, like a portable escape room, board game, whatever you want to call it. Which ones have you played? And let's talk about those.
Deckscape is the other one I've played.
Okay. I played a single Deckscape.
I played one as well. Yeah. So,
I own a few, but
when you can find them for $5 a piece.
Right, exactly. Which, every once in a while they retail at the same price as these guys.
Yeah,
but it's a smaller box. The cards are a little more square.
Yeah, so
a little bigger.
Unlocked is about almost tarot card size.
Right.
Whereas Deckscape is literally like a deck of cards.
Well, no, it's like two cards that are sideways. It's like weird, like, yeah.
But yeah,
it's a strange size.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of weird. But they do a lot of the things that a lot of them do, but there's one big detriment to Deckscape that I do not like, and that's how you solve the puzzle. Basically, you're given a question, and you have to guess the answer.
Yeah.
And it'll just tell you if you're right or wrong.
Yeah, it
Like,
doesn't.
so
It's
what?
not really a lot of escaping.
Yeah, and so that's...
Mind you, we've only played one scenario, so I don't know
Right,
if it's
right.
with the other games.
I'm willing to give the others a try. It's just that was really frustrating. I played the Fate of London. That was the one I played.
That's not the one I played. I played the what is it? The Pharaoh one.
Okay, yeah, mine was a casino based one. But yeah,
Okay.
it's the whole I hated that, like, where it's like, I'm pretty sure this is what it does, and you just have to flip over the card, and then if you're right, good. If not, you get penalized. Like, that's stupid. I hate that.
And so just to let everybody know, you've actually played more of the escape room games than I have. So
Right. So I'll go into as much as I can. Like,
yeah, so let's talk about the one that you keep talking about, the one that's down there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do you want to grab that real quick? Or so I can just show them. So I can't show you much, and really, it's not coined as an escape room, but this is a really interesting one. It's called Box One by Theory 11 is the publisher. They are known for making magic supplies, and decks of cards is a big thing for them now. They make like the Mandalorian decks of cards and Harry Potter. And
oh man, those are
Star Wars.
pretty cards
They're
too.
gorgeous, right? And this company is known for that. They used to make stuff for magicians. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And so I know that they worked with Neil Patrick Harris,
Who is
side
actually a
note,
magician.
He's a professional magician, and he was the president of the Magic Castle for a few years. Mm-hmm. And so, like, he's a professional magician, and so that makes sense. A lot of people don't realize that. But this one, Box One, is kind of like an escape room experience. It's called an ever-evolving game of trivia, codes, puzzles, and discovery. A game for one, created by one. So it's just for one player.
Yeah.
And it's not like you have a timer. You don't have a timer in this. It's not like a traditional, you have to escape in a certain amount of time, or
It's
you either
just
win
you
or
go
don't.
through the-
You go through this storyline. And first off, as far as similarities to a real escape room, this is paramount. The components in this are some of the best components I've ever seen in an escape room. What they do in this is unlike any other portable escape room experience I've experienced. There is only one that I would say could kind of compare to this one, but I'll talk about those in a bit. But the fact that this is made for one person is what makes this so intriguing, and it really messes with you when you're doing it, because you're not worried about, other people messing you up and taking away from your experience, because it's just you. I mean, you could probably play this with two players, really.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
But it says for one.
It says for one, and I did it that way, and I could not encourage enough people to do this. This is, if you're looking for a great experience, it's a little expensive, but it's not just an hour. It'll take you longer than that. I think this retails at $30.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad. It's still a price of a one person for escape room.
Yeah.
But this one, it's not consumable. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, there's a pad of note paper.
Yeah.
That's consumable. Whatever. But it's not technically consumable. But the fact that I can lend this to you and you can play it, hopefully soon, and you'll enjoy every bit of it, it's really neat. But the puzzles in there are completely different than anything else I've ever seen. And that's what makes the experience... I can't go into it without spoilers. All I can say is that my excitement is real, and I have played this maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and I still get kind of a little bit of a high when you discover one thing, and then you discover the next thing, and you figure out where everything's going. It's fantastic. The theme is spot on. It's so immersive, and the puzzles are they tend to be a little easier, so it's more introductory. That might be the best introduction escape room in a box.
Sounds pretty good. I do have to try it. So you've also played the Walmart one.
Escape Room the game.
That one.
So the difference with that one is it has a contraption.
Yeah.
This contraption is battery powered. I think it retails at $35 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's not
Has
super expensive.
4 cases in the box, and you have plastic keys. which the keys are interesting because they have different shapes as cut out in the holes. They have different little codes on them. They have different numbers, different ways, and that's on purpose because sometimes you need to figure out a code based on those keys and put it into the decoder in a certain way, and it will tell you if that is the correct function. And that decoder is cool. It's a timer, and it tells you this, and it has sounds and stuff, and it's a really neat device. It works really well for what it does. The rest of the components are decent. My only complaint about those, so the production quality is really good. I hate the cardboard like tuck box. That's annoying. But some of the components that you gain from doing these escape rooms, you need to use in future scenarios or expansions that to make it less expensive for you to buy. They just simply don't include it. So it might say, oh, use component this from the base game along with that. Along with this expansion in order to play it. And it will just tell you when. And they normally have like envelopes that have all the components. And it's decent components. If you're not sure about that, that one's a fun one too. And you can get hints, I believe, from the decoder as well. So mostly that's a pretty decent one. I would rank that probably about as high as the Exits.
Okay.
But with less creative puzzles.
Okay.
Yeah, the puzzles aren't as creative.
Any others?
Yes. Let's talk about the Break-In series. There's the Alcatraz game. I bought it from Target. It's in a weird, like, I want to say hexagonal box.
Yeah, I saw that at Target.
That's off-center, yeah. So the premise is cool. You have to break into Alcatraz to get your friend to escape, right?
Excuse me.
Worst escape room in a box that I have personally
That's the only reason I remember that after you said the name, because you went on a rant.
It was awful. There was multiple times where the functionality of, like, because the way it works makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, you go through one level, then you open up part of the box. You go through another level, you open up another part of the box, and you start delving in, which is a great concept.
Okay.
Some of the puzzles were legitimately broken. Like, you couldn't functionally use them. Like, there was one part where you had to look at the underside of a ceiling of a box that was attached to the thing, and you had to, like, look through a hole to, like, kind of see, like, the top part of it.
Okay. And
you couldn't do that because it's glued to the base, and so you couldn't really do it. And even if you could, the lighting is terrible. You're trying to shine a light in it, and you just can't do it because it's so small. And then there was one time where we kept trying to solve a puzzle, couldn't do it. And my friend Jim and I, we don't like getting hints for stuff like this. So we're like, okay, fine. We give up. We need to get past this puzzle. We looked at the hint book, and it had a typo.
Oh, God.
It had a typo. How does that get past development?
Especially for escape room games.
Yeah.
So you'll see typos here and there in rule books and stuff like that. But something that needs to be as best as possibly can. This is...
No, it was incredibly frustrating. My wife played it with us. It was us originally as a 3-player game. Halfway through it, she left. And I really don't blame her for that, because she was just not having fun. I felt really bad at the end of it. That pretty much turned her off from escape rooms. It was so frustrating, but you know what could you do? You don't know it going in. But so we're hoping that helps, because that one, I'm hoping they
stay away from that one.
Yeah, it was just really awful, and it was a worst experience. The next one I'm going to talk about, yes, I've played this many, is Escape Room in a Box. They did the werewolf experiment, and they did like the flashback 80s. That's the one. It's been a while since I played it. It's a one-time experience. Normally takes about 2 hours. The component quality in there is fantastic. It's one of those ones where it's the closest simulation to an escape room.
Okay.
Even including box one. Like, it has some really interesting components. They do things, they provide you everything that you're going to need. And sometimes you need very specialty components. It's not like you have to assemble a thing that's supposed to simulate like a statue or whatever. No, like they would just give you a statue in the box. like they're not going to do that. So they have props. They do all this cool stuff. That one was a really good one. Both the ones I've played on that, the Flashback 80s and the Werewolf Experiment, also really good.
Okay, I'll have to check those ones out.
And I think that covers all of them.
All right.
I'm sure there's one or two that I've played that were like,
Everybody out there, you got a plethora of choices except for the Alcatraz one. Don't touch that one. Back to our main topic.
Yes.
So the compare and contrast was for Exit and Unlocked. So for us, the way we're going to do this is if you want more of the puzzly escape room tactile feel, then we recommend Exit.
Yep.
If you want the portability, the replayability to, lend to other people.
Or the IP.
As well as again, going back to the portability, being able to take something pretty simple with you on a plane or a trip or something like that, then we're going to recommend Unlocked.
Or if you hate the idea of
destroying cards,
Yeah.
But other than that, highly recommend you try both of these games, but this at least will hopefully help you decide which one's better fit for you.
That's right. And sorry for that long rant at the end there, but if you are also considering any of the ones that I also mentioned, those are also decent ones that you can look into, except for really the Alcatraz one. That was the worst one.
Yeah, God.
And there might be others that are bad or good that I have planned to play. We'll see. I have some on my shelf of shame that I do plan on playing. But
yeah, I have a couple.
Yeah, a few. But different even series.
So
this is kind of a common thing now. It's a little weird. But we definitely want to thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully that helped you out. If you ever want to give us a suggestion for an upcoming episode, you absolutely can. You can email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
Why do you keep changing this up? We
need
need consistency, all right? We need consistency.
You can add me in the script, that's fine. But I don't run off the script.
You can also get in contact with us at our Twitter account at EBG Podcast.
So we want to give a shout out to Illuminous and also Dead Ghost Pixels and our friend Creative Chaos. All of you guys, thank you so much for tuning in live and joining in on our chat. Hopefully we answered some of your questions. By all means, if you ever want to watch a live episode, go to twitch.tv/everydayboardgames and you can watch in and join in on the chat live and our debates and everything and include your commentary. But we also suggest subscribing to us on Twitch, so you'll get a notification when we come up online. Sometimes we've been a little more consistent lately, and now every time I say that, we normally have to change. So we want you to know when we're going to be live.
As well as you can find all video re-uploads on YouTube at Everyday Board Games 2020. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things that you can do to help us grow on that platform. Subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject. As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under the Everyday Board Games podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, and Podbean.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day's a good day for board gaming.